The thing that Orion, a young boy, fears the most is the dark. So when the embodiment of his worst fear pays a visit, Dark whisks Orion away on a roller coaster ride around the world to prove there is nothing to be afraid of the dark. This stands out for, well, Charlie Kaufman. It's an unconventional way of telling a family animated film that has a beautiful animation style. It's visually intriguing. It's one of those which is emotionally resonant, but it is a film that works on a very, very different level. Originally based on a very, very small children's book, Charlie Kaufman, and a name that you wouldn't really put together with the family film, elevates this film into something else.
Yeah, the book is one of those typical children's books for early ages where there's only a handful of pages and it's a very simple, slight story about a boy who fears the dark, but the dark shows him there's nothing to be feared. Those kind of books make great material to draw inspiration from because it's so slight that you can do pretty much anything with. And in the hands of Charlie Kaufman, he's basically delivered John Malkovich for children. It's so creative. I mean, it starts off feeling very traditional, that this boy who's afraid of pretty much everything. He's nervous about everything, but the thing he fears the most is when the lights are switched off when he's supposed to go to sleep and he needs light. Asking his parents, like, just leave the door open a bit. No, a bit more, a bit more, a bit more, until it's wide open because he doesn't want the dark. But then when he encounters the dark and the dark takes him on this adventurous journey through the world of nighttime imagination, the film starts to evolve into not only like a confrontation of what causes fear and why you shouldn't be afraid of it, but how storytelling through generations creates the things that we're afraid of, and how to overcome it. The generations need to kind of combine in their storytelling to show things in a good light, because this film deconstructs storytelling in a very bizarre, time distorted, manipulative kind of way that only the warped mind of Charlie Kaufman can understand. Because I've still got no idea what was going on for most of this film, but all that I know is that I loved it.
I'm glad you said that, and you're right. This is in every way a very recognizable Charlie Kaufman film. You've got the nervy and edgy lead character, which is a kind of a tick box for a lot of Charlie Kaufman movies. You've got the strange narrative drive to it, but impressively, you've got the sort of the kind of meta framing of it. I want to point out that I thought the voice cast was really good. Jacob Tremblay plays young Orion, and Colin Hanks, who's so underused, I think Colin Hanks voices the adult version. And Dark is played by Paul Walter Hauser.
It's narrated by Werner Herzog.
Yeah, and if you just jumped in, and it's narrated by Werner Herzog. So this is a film that is existentialism for kids, as simple as that. In fact, there's a bit in one point where Orion's reading a book called Nihilism versus Existentialism for Kids. And
there's a short Werner Herzog film embedded in it as well.
This is a clever way of telling a children's film.
It's genuinely smart. It's inventive. It's an exploration of themes and ideas. And I never thought that you could get such storytelling of such mind-bending storytelling analyses and dreamlike sensibilities into a kids' film successfully in only 93 minutes, and still manage to keep it captivating, magical, and adventurous so that younger audiences won't feel lost through it. I mean, I'm lost, but but the younger audiences won't worry too much about the time traveling like storytelling aspects, because in order to explain what I'm talking about here, the story is being told in an almost Goldman-esque kind of way by a father to a son. But it's a father to a son in 3 different generations telling the same story and coming in to help each other at different parts of the story. It's bizarre. As an adult, you try to analyze what's going on, and that's where you get lost. But younger audiences will just get drawn into the magical adventure. And I think that's marvelous. I think it's balanced so well.
I think at the end of it, as all children's stories should do, it has a profound lesson. And I think this resonates for adults as well as children. The core theme of overcoming fears, including the fear of the dark and insecurities, is what the film is depicted. And I think it's a film that tries to do something with children's film. I'll start again. This is a film that tries to do something different with the genre of children's films and has something profound to say and is emotional and about personal growth. And for that, I think it deserves to be seen and deserves to be, where am I going with it? It deserves to be seen in these head and shoulders above most animated kids movies.
Now, I know that we've said in the past that, you know, some of the Netflix productions, it's a shame that they didn't get big screen releases because they would have done great. But I think this is one.
Yeah, I agree.
I think this is one that sits well on the streaming platform. I think at a cinema, this would have just got buried. This would have got lost because it's such a weird concept, but you have to watch it to appreciate it. On streaming, it's hopefully finding an audience because it deserves to. It's smart. It's educational. It's entertaining. It's engaging. It's a beautiful family film from the mind of someone who is as warped as you can be. Having no particular interest in wrestling and therefore not having any knowledge of the story of the Von Erich family, which one of my colleagues at work tells me were a huge thing in wrestling, I entered this film pretty fresh. My interest in seeing it based purely on the lineup of the cast and the fact that it's an A24 film. The trailers boosted my interest, but aside from being a true story about wrestling, I still didn't know what to expect going in. What the film delivered was a fascinating story of a rise to fame for a family plagued with tragedy whilst at their peak, much of it brought on by the very dominating presence of the head of the household and his pushing of his sons to keep up the family legacy. Starting in 1979, the Texas NWA heavyweight champion Kevin Von Erich is worried that his father, Jack Fritz Von Erich, who was a wrestler who had become a promoter and owner of the WCCW professional wrestling organization, was pushing his younger brother Mike away from his creativity in music in an attempt to have all of his sons follow his own legacy in the ring. Another brother, David, partners up with Kevin, and they begin to make waves in tag team tournaments, whilst another brother, Kerry, is set to represent the USA in the Olympics in track and field events, especially the discus, which he excelled in. However, when politics intervene, resulting in the USA refusing to participate in the 1980 Moscow Olympics, Kerry joins the brothers in the ring, but as the trio are at their height, tragedy after tragedy begins to befall the family, which Kevin attributes to a family curse. As a dramatic film about a dysfunctional family in which the father pushes each of their sons to their limit and somewhat creates tragedy through his intention to live on through them, this is powerful. With that story being drawn on from real events, it only makes it even more stunningly moving and impactful. The wrestling, while still being a core focus of the film, given the importance of the sport to the family, is secondary to the emotional family drama that goes on here. And with Zac Efron, bulked up and central in the role of Kevin, we're granted an almost sympathetic entry point to the family drama on offer as he tries to steer his father's ambitions while protecting his brothers. Holt McElhenney heads up the household as Fritz Von Erich, casting an overbearing shadow on the household, with Maura Tierney as his wife Doris, a seemingly distant and uncaring mother who offers the boys very little emotional support, making for an upbringing without any apparent love and nurture. Instead, the sons are all simply products for the Von Erich brand. This is an emotionally cold film about an emotionally cold family. Even the bond between the brothers is somewhat tenuous at times, with them all focused more on living up to their father's ideals and expectations than actually caring for each other. Kevin, being the only one who wants to protect Mike, played wonderfully by Stanley Simons, from the crazy world that they are in. Jeremy Allen White as Kerry is so focused on his career, having lost his Olympic chance, that he seems broken inside. And even after tragedy strikes himself, he still finds a way to fulfill his planned legacy. Wonderfully cast and shot in a cold and sometimes dirty manner, with director Sean Durkin and cinematographer Matthias Erdely capturing the family drama and the in-ring action in authentic ways. The Iron Claw packs a punch to the heart whilst delivering on the occasional action. It's a fine sports drama in which the sport is a secondary aspect.